Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content and help you answer the question, is 6 years too short a period from an animated film to live action adaptation? Yes. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dill Blight.
Yes.
Yes. If you don't know what we're talking about, it was announced today at the day of recording that they're doing a live action adaptation of Moana, starring The Rock as Maui. Yeah. Rock getting paid, I guess. You know, it's like, no, this Black Adam stuff is not working out. I need to jump back onto something people liked that I did. So, I mean, it's not a terrible idea for a live action film. It's just, it just feels too soon.
It feels fucking pointless, is what it feels. Like, you make an animated movie just to make a live action one straight away. What's the point? What does this offer that the animated one doesn't? Like, what is the
real
point of
people?
this?
I mean, it just goes back to, you know, actual live action being regarded as more important cinema than animated cinema.
Yeah, it's weird. I know.
All right. On today's episode, we'll be discussing watching our watch history, discussing some breaking news, giving some thumbs to some trailers, and giving this week's top three. Let's kick things off. I went and saw Air. So this is the about to be released new Ben Affleck film, starring Matt Damon, Viola Davis, Jason Bateman, Ben Affleck himself, about how Nike got Michael Jordan to sign with them, launching the Air Jordan sneaker line. Matt Damon plays Sonny Vaccaro, who was a shoe salesman, whose focus was finding the next athlete to sponsor in the basketball division. At the time, Nike had like a 17% market share in the basketball shoe industry. Their whole department was pretty much on the chopping block. And of course, you know, if you know any history, if you watched The Last Dance or anything, you know that Michael Jordan signed the deal. So, I mean, there's that element to suspense is not in there. But it is a really interesting story, I think, obviously, about how deals like this kind of get done, the courtship. Of course, like, Michael Jordan was not interested in signing for Nike at all. He was very much wanted to go to Adidas. I think in real life, he actually really wanted to go to Reebok, but, you know, they didn't really make basketball shoes at the time. But yeah, just kind of breaking all that down. Everybody here is doing like a fantastic acting job, from Matt Damon. Ben Affleck plays the CEO of Nike, who's a very weird, like, meditation focused kind of dude. Viola Davis is fantastic. She's only in it for really a limited time. She plays Michael Jordan's mother, but she's brilliant, like, as you would expect from some like Viola Davis. I think my only issue with the movie is they don't have an actor playing Michael Jordan. They're like,
this is what I was confused about. Yeah, this is the part.
They end up just actively avoiding showing Michael Jordan. Like,
why?
When he's in the room, they'll just show it from behind, where he's like in a silhouette in the front. I don't know. It's a weird choice, I think. Whether, you know, Michael Jordan was like, no, nobody can play me, or like they wanted to build him up as like this otherworldly figure, because obviously they also use like a bunch of like clips and footage of actual Michael Jordan. So whether they're like, oh, it'll be easier if he's not actually in it, and we could just have the clips like kind of fill in the role, I guess. Or we don't have to match, I guess, would be the other thing. We don't have to like reshoot the clips or anything. Like, it just makes it is just like, a little bit weird.
Without having watched the movie and like based off the trailers and looking through the cast and everything, I was like, okay, so it appears like Michael Jordan is in this movie, which is weird because I feel like you could still make the movie, surely, and not have the focus on him, but still at least having that one core scene with him and signing it. Because surely it feels like it's missing that. Like, where's the scene where he, like, you clearly see him signing it and you don't get to see his face and you like sign a deal, sort of.
I mean, yeah, there's no kind of signing the deal thing, but Viola Davis is very much playing the
Conduit?
she's the gatekeeper.
Like
she's like running the show on that side. Yeah, I think it's a little bit unfortunate. It just plays a little bit weird, but I mean, if that's the biggest gripe I have of the film, I think that's not too much of an issue, considering the focus is really on the Nike side and all the people on that side trying to figure out how to get this deal done. Yeah, other shout out to Chris Messina, who plays Michael Jordan's agent and is playing very much the manic, angry dude that we came to know him on The Newsroom, and has embodied in several roles since. So he's really fantastic. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, check it out in cinemas this coming Thursday, or I think it might even be coming out Wednesday because of Easter. So yeah,
is that why Mario's out on Wednesday?
I'm pretty sure that's why. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we also this weekend watch WrestleMania 39. WrestleMania 39, the massive WWE event that we kind of look forward to each year. The big two-night events, main evented by Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Dylan, did you watch much of WrestleMania?
I watched most of day one. I skipped what did I skip? Oh, I skipped the first match because I was like, this is going to be boring. And then I watched the rest of it, but I skipped around day two a little bit. And
so you're at work, so you didn't watch it live. So I'm sure that.
Yeah, I didn't watch it live. That was the problem. So I've had to I watched all of the main event of day two, and then I went back and I skipped around a few other bits to get my head around the segments or whatever. But yeah, that's it.
So what are your thoughts on this year's WrestleMania?
Terrible finish. not a new thought. Obviously, I feel like it's the thought that's all over the internet. I haven't seen anyone, at least on my Twitter, that's happy with what happened. They have obviously everyone thought Cody was going to win because it was this WWE won't fuck it up this time. They'll get it right this time. And then obviously Roman Reigns won. But not only does he win, it's just the dumbest combination of ref bumps and people running it. It's just boring. It just does my head in. It's the same Roman shit over and over and over. It's just so tedious.
Wow, Dylan. If Paul Heyman does it, it's all shitty. But if Don Callis comes out and holds somebody's leg, it's all good.
I mean, Kenya what? So Kenya never won the same match over and over again with the same bit. There's an element of bad guys do things, but it's the same bit consistently. And how many ref bump bits was in WrestleMania? 3, 4. Come on! It just gets when you've seen it done.
Just
when you've seen it done throughout the whole event, and then it's done again in the main event. It's just sort of stupid. If you want to do the ref bump bit, at least make it so that no one else gets it, and you just keep it for the main event. Don't, because that's sort of.
I mean,
stupid.
it's just a case of poor officiating.
Yeah,
just stay out of the way.
But yeah, so that match was terrible, and that was a horrible decision via whoever made that decision.
I'll object to it being terrible. I think it was a good match. It's just the finish soured everybody.
It was okay,
except the most diehard of Roman Reigns bloodline fans.
All right, I'll go back. It was a normal Roman Reigns match, it was okay. Cool story. And then the finish was terrible. Rhea Ripley's match was fantastic.
Yeah.
On day one. That was very, very good. That was the best match of the event that I've seen so far. The only other one I want to go back that everyone's raving about is the Gunther match, which you, Kieran, and everyone else have seen say is great. So I'll go watch that. What's that for? That was for the Intercontinental.
It's Intercontinental Championship, yeah.
So I'll go back and watch that because everyone says it's great. The Bianca match was good. The Belair match was fine.
Yeah.
The women's tag match was decent. There was decent stuff. The Rey Mysterio match was fine. I think it wasn't the match was whatever. It was just mostly for a sort of entertainment value.
It was a little bit thrown by the fact they had Cinnamon Crunch ads all over the.
Yeah, so that's really annoying. But yeah, so And then the tag match, the main event of day one, obviously the tag titles, very good from a story point and getting what people wanted out of that one for the Usos to actually lose. And it was a fine match. Like it was a 7 out of 10 or whatever. Like it was like, most of it comes from the story beat. Like the match itself was like fine. It's fine. I know why you can have a good story match and not have like the match
That's
itself.
right. You're AEW apologist. Yeah.
I am the company of the WWE. Have you heard this little event that happened over the weekend called Ring of Honor?
Supercard? Yeah. Did you watch that?
Yeah, it was good. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You see the ladder match? Someone broke their fucking leg.
Oh, yeah. I heard that, Did they stop the match?
No. Because they ain't little bitches.
Well, there were like 5 other people in the match, so I mean, that makes a little bit of a difference. I thought it was pretty solid. Like you said, I think the Gunther Drew McIntyre Sheamus match was probably the best match on the card, which a lot of people suspected coming in because obviously the Sheamus Gunther match at Clash of the Castle was considered by many like match of the year. So to get a kind of sequel to that was really cool. I think I didn't like the women's tag match. I think, obviously the ending, again, I feel like there was a lot of endings that didn't go well. Whether they were trying to protect, rumor is Ronda Rousey was injured, and whether that's like they played into that. I'm talking about the 4-way tag into protecting her. I think I really enjoyed the Usos Kevin Owens thing, but that might be just because I'm super invested in that story. The Ray Dom thing was really fun. Just very amusing entrances as well. The Ray.
I did enjoy Dominic coming in with the police cars.
Police cars and everything. Yeah. Even the purple mask, I think, throwback to Halloween Havoc or whatever. Yeah. Ray's debut or whatever, or first title win, I think. That was all really good. The event was very much held down by a bunch of incredibly obnoxious ads, and especially day 2 was like incredibly dragged out. Like, I don't know whether it was them trying to put that Hell in the Cell down. It seemed like there was a good 10-20 minutes of waiting between events or matches or whatever. That Hell in the Cell match I thought was solid, but obviously the pacing was completely thrown off by Finn Balor getting his head completely busted open, and the WWE's policy of not showing any blood on TV.
They're like, let's cut away. Let's here's a dancing bear and some chocolates, kids. And some cereal.
I think, overall pretty fun. Of course, it was a bit, the ending soured people because, we all thought this was Cody's moment, but, the story goes on.
Calm down, Triple H puppet.
Yep.
It's doing it.
Also, I love the press conferences. I thought they were really fun. You should check out at least Sammy and Kevin Owens talking during their press conference.
I'll tell you what, all he does is eat Snickers the whole thing. The press conference, that Triple H comment, I think is really dumb. Here's why. So his pitch as to why Cody not winning is fine is because the story goes on. Cool, but he's implying that people will keep watching no matter what, which I think is just from a point of comfortability, because if you want to compare WWE to like a long-running TV show, people will stop watching if a major story beat is shit. And like, say it doesn't go the way they want, they'll be like, I'm done with this TV show, and they stop watching it. So to apply that it's perfectly fine because it's not a movie and the story goes on, that's just sort of thinking you're perfectly safe from people not wanting, like, they'll stay invested no matter what because the story never ends. But that's not actually how it works. That's not real life. That's just you thinking that you can never lose viewers over doing shitty story decisions, shitty booking. That's not how it works.
I mean, yeah, I know. We all just assumed Cody was going to be the one, but maybe they've got somebody else earmarked.
No, they'll just keep him. They just want to get Roman to his 1,000 days or whatever.
That's true.
But I feel like and when Cody wins, I'm sure there'll be a bunch of people that will still be happy with it, but it's just,
but it could have been.
It's the moment is lost for a lot of people. I think now, I think a lot of people who tuned in for this as the moment, like the balloon's now deflated. Like it's only gonna be half full. That like it's just not gonna have the same effect if he wins at SummerSlam.
It's interesting
or
because I think the last time I actually nailed a main event at WrestleMania would probably be Daniel Bryan.
Mm. No, even that they took ages to do. So
even that they were like completely painted to a corner.
Yeah, the fans
they didn't do it by
them.
choice.
No, the fans pushed them to give that. So
that and people walking out and people turning on the people. Yeah. So yeah, WrestleMania. Also shout out to Betson who showed up on screen for like 10 seconds or 5 seconds,
standing on a table or someone's legs, or I don't know, he was very high in the back.
He was very high, yeah. Making sure he was in shot. Very smart.
Yeah. Very smart.
That was cool. So yeah. All right. Speaking of wrestling, Dylan, you watched the first episode of AEW All Access. Did it fulfill your AEW fanboy heart dreams stuff?
So AEW All Access is AEW's new like behind the scenes show, reality TV show type thing. It's not like taking place week to week live. It's from months ago is where it starts. Basically starts when the Young Bucks are coming back after the Brawl Out scenario. And it's also so that
they talk about the Brawl Out scenario.
No, well, yes and no. So it's mentioned, but there is very much a like we don't want to talk about it.
We went
That's
away
like
for a while
thing
for some reason.
Yeah, that they hint at it, and they're coming back, and they talk about having it being a stain on their career forever, and like it's talked about but not talked about at the same time is the thing. You get to see like a moment. There's like lots of subtle stuff. Like they come to the show for the first time. They walk up to the ring where people are practicing. Eddie Kingston's there. He gets up straight away, hugs them, says it hasn't felt like home around here since they haven't been here. Like there's a lot of like subtle hints at like people missing them and all this sort of stuff. The other main characters it follows are Britt Baker, Adam Cole, Bebe. So Adam Cole is out with a head injury at the moment, and he's been struggling with that, like literally getting dizzy, and like he had like several concussions in a row, and he's been out for a long time, and he's going to like doctor's appointments and stuff, and she's like feeling worried about him, and you know this sort of stuff. Then you have Britt is there, and she's like talking about being for the long time being the women's champion and like sort of leading the division and stuff. And there's lots of like no cutting bullshit between her, because there's a scene where she's standing there talking with Tony Storm, fucking I can't remember what the I don't know, can't remember who else was there. Anyway, they're all standing there talking about how Tony at the time was the interim AEW's champ, and they're pretty much like talking shit on how Thunder Rosa is allowed to be out, and she's not making any appearances even though she's injured, but she's still allowed to have the belt. And like they're talking about how it's just not on, and it's bullshit that she's the interim and champ and she should be the real champ. And like if you watch the show, obviously eventually Tony does become the real champ and then eventually loses the belt. But like it's just interesting here, this straight up behind the scenes talking shit on Thunder Rosa, and it just being there. So that's quite interesting. MJF has attempted to be interviewed at one point, and he just tells the cameraman to stop being shining lights on him, and then that's about all we get. So he's the only person who obviously just commits and never breaks character in anything, even a show called All Access. I think as the show goes forward, they're supposed to follow some other person as well. But yeah, the first episode is mostly Young Bucks, Adam Cole. You do get him talking to what's his fuck as well. Owens is like talking to him at one stage, like where they're like trying to, because he's out at the moment as well, injured and stuff. So I feel like if you like AEW, you'll enjoy watching this. I felt like it was not paced or put together in a way that felt overly produced, which was going to be my worry coming into it. It did feel mostly natural, I guess, for this type of show. So I'm definitely going to be watching more. It's Also for people who are listening, if you do want to watch it, it's part of the Fight subscription, so that was nice. It didn't have to like go somewhere else. It's there on your, if you pay for AW Plus on Fight, it's part of your subscription.
No, found a way to get people to subscribe still to Fight.
I'll still subscribe because it's part of KO, right, or whatever now.
Yeah, it's on.
But I don't have KO.
You have Binge though.
Do I have KO if I have Binge?
I don't. No, you don't have Binge, but I don't know if it. Actually, I don't know if Rampage is on, or AEW stuff's on Binge.
No, I don't believe so. I think it's just Fight. I think it's just KO.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was still subscribed because I had to be.
I mean, if you liked other sports, then you would just subscribe to KO. But yeah.
Yeah, but I don't. I just like.
But you hate every other.
I hate sport. I'm only into pro wrestling, Ash.
Yeah. Okay. I guess to conclude this wrestling portion of the show, I finished watching Monster Factory. Of course, this is the documentary series on Apple TV Plus about the Monster Factory Wrestling School, following a bunch of students as they, attempt to get wrestling contracts. We both talked about the debut episode, how like this, the girl Notorious Mimi is about to have her wrestling WWE tryout. Spoilers. That's resolved in the second episode, and then we never kind of see her again, and then it focuses on all the other students. The main thrust of the actual season is like the main head trainer Danny is trying to organize this massive showcase at 1030 Arena, or like the old ECW arena, and it's like following all the students as prepared for this big showcase event, like delving into, and then of course like from there delving into different stories of how they came to want to do wrestling and what all their like troubled backgrounds and that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed it. Once I like started getting into a few more episodes, like I had to binge watch the whole thing. So Monster Factory, definitely worth checking out. It doesn't completely it feels like there could be a second season, but it also could just, that would be it, you know.
It's a real school, so they can do as many seasons as
they can do as many seasons as they want. But it doesn't end with, oh, here's where everybody is at the end of the season, you know. This person went on to do this, and this person went on to that.
The main character that leaves in episode 2, she ends up in
she's not a main character, really.
She's not there anymore.
She only showed up. She shows off very briefly at different points and is mentioned by different people because she's the first female to sign with WWE through that school or whatever. So yeah, that's worth checking out. On Apple TV Plus, also the Big Door Prize. This is a show that we've talked about a few times on the podcast. From one of the writers of Schitt's Creek, starring Chris O'Dowd, in which he plays a teacher in a small town. One night in the local grocery store, a morpho machine suddenly appears, a machine that will apparently tell you your life's potential. Nobody knows how it got there or if it's true or not, but everybody kind of goes and uses it and finds out what their own life potential is, and kind of everything kind of rolls off from there. 3 episodes released to start off with. We've both watched the first 3 episodes. I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely odd. There's a lot of storylines that are like very slowly being drawn out and like sprinkled in. I think it helps a lot that the first 3 episodes are released at once, because I think it was just the one episode. It would be a lot harder to get invested or want to give the show a chance. I was surprised that the Chris O'Day character like checked their potential so quickly. I thought that might have been a little bit more drawn out, but I think it's an interesting show that is raising it has a lot of interesting ideas and questions it raises, but it hasn't necessarily hit any of them yet. But Dylan, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts on the Big Door Prize so far?
Not loving it. I feel like it's just weirdly, there's something off about it. There's some like the pacing or the mix of what it's going for. It just feels, just something feels off. It just I'm not sure if it should either be a little bit more serious or try and land some more jokes. It just feels like it's a weird middle ground between what it's trying to do. I'm also not really gravitating towards any of the characters. And I mean, I don't really like the Chris O'Dowd character either. Like, I haven't 3 episodes in. I just don't feel like I don't dislike or like anyone. That's the problem.
That's fair.
I have no strong feelings about any of the characters after those 3 episodes, and I don't even know if I'll keep watching, to be honest. I'm just very, I don't think it's bad, but I'm just very like sort of 5 out of 10 scenario on those 3 episodes.
Yeah. Do you think the mystery is enough to get you to keep watching?
No, that's the problem. I feel like I know, like, the mystery's fine, I guess. Like, it's the pull you in part, the synopsis, the trailer, what have you. But it's just, if I don't care about these characters at all, like, that's the reason you watch anything. Like, I just got nothing from any of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a show that's runs on its high concept. I don't think the strongest of the characters are the strongest element of it. And the Chris O'Dowd character comes off a little bit unlikable towards the second half of these first 3 episodes, especially when he's rallying against the Morpho machine so ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm intrigued at the very least, especially like the kind of ending of the last episode with the priest. What's he so upset about? All right. So over on Holocron Entries, we've been talking about season 2 of The Bad Batch. It came to its conclusion this past week. Dylan, what are your thoughts on The Bad Batch season 2?
It was a very up-down season, as if you'd listened to our podcast episodes week by week, you would have heard. Some episodes were good, some episodes were terrible, some episodes were great. Like, it was a really just the full spectrum. I feel like it mostly leaned towards either being bad or average, though, which was the problem. My major complaint is that it just seemed so drawn out, a bunch of nothing adventures, but also not only were they nothing adventures, they just seemed to have no, like, character development that mattered, or like there's nothing happening in them that, like, the episode, the Monster of the Week storyline would be meh, and then everything else happening would be inconsequential anyway, and I'll be like, what was the point of this episode? I don't get it. It wasn't fun. It didn't give me anything for the characters. So really great finale, though. Really fantastic 2-part finale, so they at least landed the finish there and left in a super interesting spot for season 3, so hopefully they can just turn things around coming into the next season.
Yeah, I agree. It was a very, drawn out season. I think, if you were to use a word that I dislike, there was a lot of filler.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's justified in this one rare occasion. There was a lot of filler for once.
Yeah. But when it did hit its stride and had like cool story moments and like things that progressed the world of Star Wars forward, it was super enjoyable. It definitely left itself, it like kind of raised itself up to a higher quality in those last couple episodes to leave you wanting a season 3 to come sooner rather than later, and definitely leaving it an interesting point. If the show explains what happens to the clones, like, overall, I think, it'll be a success. And I mean, it continues to be a solid animated entry in the Star Wars universe. So check out Holocron Entries if you want to hear all our thoughts on each episode of The Very Bad Batch. They're kind of entertaining episodes, I think. Dylan, you over on Prime Video, you've been checking out The Power, new series starring Toni Collette.
Yeah, so I've got to watch all of The Power. I think it debuted just as one episode.
Yep.
And that's weekly, or maybe it was a couple. No, it was probably 3 actually. It was Prime, so I think they do 3 and then weekly. But yeah, so the series basically follows. It's based on a book, and it follows a group of different female characters around the world when this power starts sort of growing within. It's not all women. It's there's like they discovered like an age thing, I guess. It's like it's mostly young women, I guess.
Teenage girls.
Teenage girls, yeah. This power starts growing with them, which enables them to electrocute out of their body. And the strength and the control that different characters and teenage girls start showing with this varies upon person to person, but of course this starts this massive like change around the world with how different countries start reacting to this and what they're going to do about this and whatever else. So you have one character, Ali, who she's sort of been adopted by this very like Christian family, and she uses hers to escape this household, and then she ends up being picked up by a group of nuns, and like where they're looking after a bunch of other girls, and that's where her story sort of takes her. Then you have the character Roxy, who's sort of this in the UK. She's part of like her dad's a gangster or whatever else, and her mum gets attacked, and then she's like sort of out for revenge. So her powers are very much driven by she's got like a dark underside to her with this violent tendencies and whatever else. None of the characters really interact with one another apart from seeing stuff on the news, which is why I feel like the characters most people are probably going to gravitate towards is Toni Collette, who is the not mayor, she's like a senator, I don't know, she's some politician, I can't remember what her role is, but she's senator, I think is what it is. I think she's like a senator. And then her daughter, I can't fucking find her name, Joss, I think, or something like that. She like it's because you have like a family dynamic there, because you've also then got John Leguizamo.
Leguizamo.
There we go. Thank you. I don't know. Without googling his last name, if you know how to.
There we go.
So you've got like two big actors there, with one of the teenage girls being their daughter. So their dynamic definitely feels like the highlight of the show, because you got like several characters all interacting with each other, whereas everyone else sort of starts feeling like, I don't know, like it's a weird mix where they never get to interact. So I don't know if down the line you'll see more characters interact with one another, and that would be really cool. They also, from what I could tell, the show definitely doesn't feel like it's trying to rush through the book. They spend a lot of time, like they'll spend a whole episode on giving you as much to an event that's happening. It never feels like it's rushing to any one time. Like even when like Ali runs away from home, it doesn't feel like it rushes through that. So that may annoy some people. Like a lot of times the show may feel like it's taking its time, but I feel like it's probably for the best. Like it's not trying to stretch this out to getting the most seasons out of it. I just feel like it's trying to stretch it out to give the characters the time they're sort of due for their stories to make sense, is how I would put that. And then the one other character is not female that sort of leads it is I can't remember Toby Jimmo. I think that's I'm trying to find from most people would know from Ted Lasso, where he's like one of the main soccer football players in that. He plays sort of a very happy-go-lucky character in that, which is very funny. But in this, he's playing like a lot more of a serious role, where he plays someone who he begins going around as a journalist covering the events, and he ends up getting caught up in being in locations where big power changes are happening and shifts of power are happening between the balance of mostly sort of second, third world country scenarios, not in America, like other places. So that's really interesting. But I really enjoyed the show. It definitely is like straight up in your face for what it's about. It's not like, it's not trying to hide like and do some very nuanced hidden message about like feminist ideology and the power balance between male and female roles in the world and whatever else. Like it's very like there, but I think that's fine when the whole premise of the show is like, hey, these like powers have been suddenly shown up in these teenage girls. Maybe it's just balance. The world is trying to rebalance itself, or like something like along those lines is what it's hinted at very early. So if that's going to annoy you, I don't know, touch grass or something. But the yeah, otherwise I very 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 much enjoyed it. So
All right, cool. So you got around to watching Beast, the Idris Elba versus a Lion movie.
yeah, I didn't like this movie. Did
Ooh.
you watch this in the cinema? I can't
Yeah, I
remember.
watched the cinema. I
Yeah,
thought
I
it was
didn't
an
like it.
enjoyable B movie.
Oh, fucking the worst characters. When those girls deserve to die. I'm telling you, like I'm 15, 20 minutes into this movie,
yeah.
and I'm just like, they should die. Like, just the Idris Elba's character's like, stay in the car. And they'll be like, what was that? I'm like, you motherfuckers, like the worst. It's like watching a Jaws where they're like,
This
stay
is
in the
like
boat.
anybody in any in horror movie. Why are you picking on these little girls?
Because it does happen in horror movies, but it's usually like one character who dies at the start of the movie. or like it's one character out of a group, and you're like, you dumb motherfucker. But it's like every character in this whole movie consistently makes dumb decision after dumb decision to the point it just got frustrating. Like, it was so many dumb decisions, it was just sort of unbelievable and stupid. So no, I don't rate this. That's how I would say for this.
All right. And then you also watched Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, so I've watched this one before. I just rewatched it because I got sent the Blu-ray release done by Imprint, which has a bunch of new special features on it. A bunch of special features that are really, really interesting. Some video essays done by people about the film specifically for this Blu-ray release, which I think is cool. But yeah, Jacob's Ladder is a really interesting movie. It sits in a weird point, I guess, in film history. Some people love it. It's like considered like a cult classic of people like at its time when it's released. The reviews were very mixed and stuff like that. But it's just, yeah, it's hard to talk about without spoiling. But it's, at the time, it was marketed, I guess, as a more horror movie, like psychological horror movie, which it is to a degree. But I think in history, it's now been slotted a lot more into like a psychological war horror movie, which is the thing. So it stars this character, Tim, what's his last name? Robbins. Tim Robbins as Jason, who the movie starts and he's in Vietnam. And then like this whole attack that happens, and then it skips forward in time, and now he's in New York City after coming back from the war, and he starts seeing all this weird stuff like demons in cars and like just lots of weird stuff happening. And then it goes down a road of like, okay, is this like PTSD? Is this like weird experiment the army did on him? Is this like, it starts going down all these different routes, and the payoff will work for some people. It works for me. I think it's like very, very interesting. Some people I know, and if you ever Google the movie and its ending and stuff like that, you'll see people also put this on a list of like worst movie endings of all time because it doesn't work for a lot of people. But yeah, interesting movie, well worth watching. The Blu-ray release, I think, just came out last week. So if you want to pick that up, I would suggest it because it has a lot of really good special features on it. A lot of original stuff only made for this release.
Awesome. All right. That's everything I watched history. Let's move into some film news. And it's been a day with a lot of announcements. Yeah. Might as well just kick the wrestling news story out of the way first. It's been announced that WWE and UFC are set to merge under UFC's umbrella company Endeavor. Reading from Hollywood Reporter, Endeavor Group Holdings and sports entertainment powerhouse WWE made things official on Monday, unveiling a definitive agreement to form a new publicly listed company consisted of two iconic complementary global sports and entertainment brands, UFC and WWE. Endeavor will hold a 51% controlling interest in the new company, while existing WWE shareholders owning a 49% interest. The new company will be led by Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel as CEO, who will continue in the same role at the remaining Endeavor business, which includes talent agency WME and the likes of IMG. WWE executive chairman and majority shareholder Vince McMahon will serve as executive chairman of the newly created firm, while Mark Shapiro will be president and chief executive officer of Endeavor and the new company. Dana White will continue his role as president of UFC, with WWE CEO Nick Khan holding the same president title as White, but at WWE. Dylan, what do you think? I think we previously talked about WWE being up for sale, but
Yeah.
yeah, WWE joining forces with UFC.
Yeah, adds up. I feel like Dana White would make a good companion for Vince McMahon and co.
Yep. I mean, this is probably one of the better options that was on the table.
Oh, it's better than
better
Saudis.
better than the Saudis buying the company. I mean, I'm sure there's people will talk about cross merger, like cross synergy stuff going forwards. But yeah, I mean,
I saw Conor McGregor already tweeted about wanting to win the fucking WWE belt and shit now. So
yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah,
have like a shoot title or whatever. I don't know.
They tried that once.
yeah, they did. You know, and then the most random person, like one from memory. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's been confirmed. It's a little disheartening. I mean, Vince McMahon's going to be on the board and still heavily involved. He came out with an interview this week where he says, "I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've owned up to them and accepted my responsibility." It's like, I don't believe you. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's still going.
I'm pretty sure he just said, "I've got to step away," disappeared for a few months, and then just crept back with his little mustache.
With the mustache.
And it's like, yeah, I've made up for my mistakes. Like, when? How? Show me that. He's like, yeah, like, you know, I was at home alone one night and I said sorry out loud. So, like, all is forgiven. Like,
so yeah, I mean, this is going to be a massive deal. I mean, you know, obviously WWE have weekly events, UFC has weekly events. I mean, it all kind of adds up, you know. So, yeah, this is a potentially massive change to the sports entertainment, you know, world. All right. What story are we going to cover next? So this is a weird breaking one. So on top of the Moana news that broke earlier today, reports are that HBO is closing in on a deal for a Harry Potter TV series based on the best-selling young adult children's books, both cable and streaming. Each season of the series will be based on one of J.K. Rowling's 7 books, said the person who had asked not to be identified since the deal has not been announced, suggesting years of fresh TV fare from the popular stories. Dylan, of course, we're very much against J.K. Rowling, and, you know, the Harry Potter franchise as a whole has been underperforming, in at least the film and TV space with the Fantastic Beasts movies. It seems like a weird choice to reboot this series, especially with the films that are so beloved. But it could just be a case of they need more Harry Potter content, so why not?
Yeah, so
why not go to the one sure thing?
They were always going to do this probably years down the line, I think. This was always going to happen eventually. I think it's happened now because Fantastic Beasts did not do shit like that. They expected that franchise to be 7 movies, massive, like, continuation. They would get a good run out of it. But Fantastic Beasts has just no one cares about that, right? So yeah, they're like, what can we do? What can we do? Straight back to the well. Let's reboot. let's just go back. Let's remake the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know who's going to care. Honestly, I know everyone will be like, yeah, like, people do care and all that sort of stuff. Like, we saw what happened with the Harry Potter game, but it's this weird thing where you'll see these stats like, oh, it's like that game did very well on Twitch and whatever else. But then people put out these reports where the numbers dived off like so hard, like no one stuck around sort of thing. JK, that story the other day saying JK profits down like 70 odd % and whatever else. So, like, as much as people like to pretend that no one cares, no one's making, like, all of her turf stuff is making no difference to her image, to the franchise as a whole. I think the numbers are there saying otherwise. Like, there's a loud proportion of people who are, you know, trying to fight back against it and say otherwise. But yeah, so I don't know. This is a desperate move via Warner Brothers because they've got this massive franchise, and they in a different world, this would be, I guess, somewhat exciting news and whatever else. But yeah, I personally obviously don't give a shit.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice. I can understand why they might be leaning in this direction, especially with the video game unfortunately being very successful. They're like, oh, people are interested in this, but just the timing of this, with obviously J.K. Rowling continuing to be a shit person, and just generally the idea of rebooting it being not well received. I've seen a lot of people like saying, "Oh wow, they're really running out of ideas if they've got to reboot this book series." I mean, like you said, in another world, we would be excited about the idea of them expanding on this world and kind of taking their time to explore everything. But just the interest in the series is diminished for a lot of people. And yeah, it's going to be a tough to compete against the movies that people hold with such nostalgia. Apparently, J.K. Rowling is going to have input, but is not going to be show running the show. So that's if it's still going ahead, because the reaction around this, we'll see how this goes. The other news story that broke as we were about to start recording, Michael Mann's eyeing Heat 2 as next film with Warner Brothers in negotiation with director to board sequel. It's been nearly 3 decades since Michael Mann's crime classic Heat hit theaters via Warner Brothers, and it now feels like Mann and the studio are finally feeling more heat around the corner for a sequel. While rumors have been swelling for weeks, Deadline is hearing that Warner Brothers is now in negotiations to come on to develop Heat 2, a sequel to the 1995 classic that Mann recently turned into a novel. The book was published in August, become a #1 New York Times bestseller. On top of Warner Brothers in talks to return, insiders add that Adam Driver, who recently starred in Mann's Ferrari, is in discussions with Mann to play young Neil McCauley in the movie. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Heat 2?
So
Have you read the book?
It's been on my list of things I'd like to, because I remember when he announced it last year, I think, or whenever it was. I think it was actually only announced last year, and then like a month or so later, they were like, the book's out, or like it was a very short sort of turnaround. I remember when he announced it, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, no one would probably greenlight a Heat 2, or like as a movie, it probably wouldn't work because like the actors are too old and stuff. So a novel sort of made sense, and it's been on my list of things that I wanted to get around to, especially because it was Michael Mann actually doing it, not someone else trying to like just do a sequel book for some weird reason. So I definitely want to still check out the book. I mean, it's hard not to be somewhat excited, because at least as far as I've seen, the word on the book, the novel, was it was good. That's why I haven't kicked it off my list of things I want to get to. And Heat is, this fantastic, one of the all-time great crime thriller movies. Adam Driver's a fucking phenomenal actor when he's in the right thing. So I don't know. It's a lot of ticking the right boxes. Michael Mann returning to direct, not some random person. I guess I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all.
All right. I mean, it all sounds good on paper. Maybe this will be the thing that makes me watch Heat. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, that's cool. Obviously, the novel has been a massive success. I mean, it makes sense. I think it'd be crazy not to greenlight it. I think it's a guaranteed success, unless Michael Mann drops the ball.
I just don't know. Like, Heat resonates for me. You haven't watched Heat. I don't know. Like, who the fuck
is it? Because is it going to disappoint because it probably will not involve Al Pacino and Robert De Niro?
No, they should not be involved.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be involved. That's fine. It should just be Michael Mann making another really great movie with the same characters, because it's got those prequel.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, that's all it has to be.
All right.
For people who don't know, Heat. By the way, people don't know about spoiling the movie. Heat's about a cop trying to track down a group of like a crime syndicate, I guess, that's robbed by. So Al Pacino plays the cop and Robert De Niro plays the leader of the group. And at the time when it came out, it has one of the greatest like heist scenes ever in it. And it's also well known because it has these phenomenal performances between Pacino and De Niro, just like playing off one another at a time. But all in all, it's a fantastic movie with a lot of great people. Val Kilmer's in it; it's one of his greatest roles. Like it's a really well done crime movie. Yeah, would Heat as a name resonate for audiences now? No, but like, could you market it to be successful?
Did we think Top Gun was going to resonate?
No, but they did a really good job. Tom Cruise went around to every person's house and said, "Watch my fucking movie." So, like,
yeah, it was really weird when he knocked on my door, but
yeah,
I went to see it. So
it worked.
Whatever it takes. Actually, it's not true. There was one more story that came out right before we started recording. Reading from Variety, a new Game of Thrones prequel about Aegon the First Targaryen's conquest of Westeros is being actively discussed at HBO. Variety has learned exclusively from sources. As the project is in very early stages, no writer is currently attached, though sources say the search is underway at HBO as HBO is keen to move forward and get into development. Sources also say there may be a feature component to the project, i.e. HBO and others would produce a feature film that would lead into the potential sequel series though plans remain in flux at present. The show would tell the story of Aegon and his sister wives, Visenya and Rhaenyra, how they used their army and their 3 dragons to conquer 6 of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros, with the exception of Dorne. In doing so, Aegon became the first king of Westeros, the first to sit on the Iron Throne, and the founder of the Targaryen dynasty. Those events took place approximately 300 years prior to the events of Game of Thrones. Dylan, is this a series that makes sense for the Game of Thrones franchise?
Yeah, I don't care personally to have this be the next Game of Thrones. Like, it's not that like I'm against more Game of Thrones spin-offs. I just think having 2 Targaryen shows or like
projects,
or at the same time, or crossing over, or that's a little bit too much for me. Go back to this, do another Game of Thrones spin-off, sure. There's a deep well of lore and world there to explore, and given how good House of Dragon has proven that, you know, the faults of those last couple of seasons isn't sticking around as long as you get the right people in charge of the show and, you know, change up the showrunners and whatever else, continue to make spin-offs, that's fine. Just this gets a no from me.
No, I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think it just depends on how you frame it. Are you framing it that Aegon's the good guy or the bad guy trying to take over everybody's the colonists, you know? Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what perspective they kind of go on it. That would be the major thing, and obviously I mean, it'll also be interesting because it'll be the heyday of the dragons, where the dragons were like all massive and big. So, also the idea of a feature film is interesting.
If it was a film, I think that makes the idea better than. I would be okay if it's a film, not a show.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, I mean, I think they would, if they're going the film route. I think they just try and make as good a film as possible, and then, you know, if it makes sense to do a series afterwards, you know, people will be on board to go with it after that. But yeah, not surprising they would want to, you know, continue to milk the Game of Thrones franchise for its worth. But obviously they do have an element of quality control, seeing as they already cancelled at least one project for that they threw many millions of dollars at. So yeah, they're not just doing these things on a whim. So yeah. Other interesting news this week. It's now been 5 years since The X-Files wrapped up its unexpected 10th and 11th seasons, but where did the franchise go from here? Last we heard in 2020, the franchise next evolution would come through The X-Files Albuquerque, an animated spin-off project that the X-Files creator Chris Carter was attached to produce for Fox. Apparently that's been cancelled, but reports of a new X-Files iteration from Ryan Coogler, the creator, director of Creed and Black Panther, has been brought up by Carter in interviews. Carter teased during a conversation that was uploaded this week, "I just spoke to a young man, Ryan Coogler, who's going to remount the X-Files with a diverse cast. He's got his work cut for him because we covered so much territory." Dylan, what are your feelings on the X-Files? And would you be keen for a Ryan Coogler reboot, revamp, continuation.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, so I assume if he's coming in, it's not bringing back Scully or Mulder.
No,
it
I
would
think that's
be
safe. Well,
brand new.
unless he's doing the Creed thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, they already rebooted it like 3-4 years ago, and they brought it back, and they did like what series or two? I can't remember how long it went for.
Yeah, it was a continuation. Though.
It was a continuation, and that was fine. I didn't think it was good. I didn't think it was bad. I just felt like it was fairly mediocre. Yeah, so X-Files with Brian Coogler, if it was new characters, just building upon like the same organization and with the general gist of the show being, overarching story, but every episode obviously it's a new case and whatever else. I feel like that's a good idea. I don't know. My only problem is, can he commit? like what's the are you just shining on direct the first episode, you're executive producer, and you disappear? And like how heavy does someone like Ryan Coogler's hand go into something like the X-Files? So
yeah, especially when he is working on, I want to say, a Wakanda show at least on for Disney Plus, and another Marvel project. I think off the top of my head. So yeah, it depends on how how much he's spreading himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it could be very interesting. I mean, yeah, I think it'd be interesting to bring X-Files into more of a modern day setting where conspiracy theories and aliens are like still very much, or crazy phenomena are still very much, a thing that people talk about. And how would you do an X-Files, I guess, today with camera phones and internet and all this sort of stuff? Very interesting, but yeah. I'd be keen. I was never a big X-Files person, so we'll see. Yeah, it's just a weird headline and a weird thing to mention in like a passing moment in an interview, and like to describe Ryan Coogler in that way. This young man, Ryan Coogler, have you heard of him? Just nonchalant, very weird. The other big story that this week that got a lot of attention. Sex Bomb is ready to rock once more, with Netflix ordering a Scott Pilgrim anime series that will bring back the cast of the cult 2010 film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Satara Baba, Kieran Culkin, Chris Evans, Anna Kendrick, Brie Larson, Alison Pill, Aubrey Plaza, Brandon Routh, Jason Schwartzman, Johnny Simmons, Mark Webber, Mae Whitman, Ellen Wong are all attached. Scott Pilgrim began life as a graphic novel series from writer and artist Brian Lee O'Malley, published by Oni Press. It's in 6 volumes from 2004 to 2010, and focused on Scott Pilgrim, a slacker and member of the garage band Sex Bomb. Of course, it was directed by Edgar Wright, who directed the 2010 Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which told the story of Scott Pilgrim facing off against the 7 previous exes of Ramon Flowers. Though Scott Pilgrim vs. the World failed at the box office, it became a cult hit. Dylan, what are your thoughts on an animated version of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
I think it's very funny that this news story came out last week and then we get Moana this morning. But they're sort of going the opposite
kind of reverse,
route. Yeah, reverse of that. So the only thing I'm confused about is, so are they saying they're adapting the movie, or are they adapting the graphic novels with the voice cast?
Nothing specific.
Yeah.
But I suspect it'll be a bit of both.
Yeah. Because I only say, as you know, so I've watched the movie, I've read the books. There is key differences.
If they're saying it's a series.
Yeah.
So there's going to be multiple episodes. So in theory, this is going to be longer than the film.
Yeah.
So I suspect they would be adapting it in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm down. Obviously, Scott Pilgrim. I love the books. I love the movie. It's the voice cast. There's no reason to change. I feel like they all were, the cast in this, and they'll be voice cast now, but the cast was all fantastic, well suited for the particular roles that they were bringing in. So yeah, why not? Fuck it. I don't know. This didn't come out 6 years ago, at least.
No, yeah, this is 12 years ago.
Yeah,
13. Yeah, I'm really excited. Anybody who loved that film was very amped about this news. My only I'd be interested to see what they're adapting, if this is going to be a little bit more stretched out. The animation style, who's behind it, and that kind of stuff, I think is important. Like, is it going to look like that animated short that they also released at the time? Did you ever see that?
Mhm.
Like telling the story of how he started dating Alison Pill's character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm keen. Of course, all the actors were perfect at the time. They're all probably much more expensive now. It would be the big thing. Most of them went on to be pretty big stars. So yeah, I'm definitely keen and excited. I think also this series being made after the graphic novels have been completed gives them opportunity to tell the love story at the core of it differently. Where in the movie it was definitely centered as if Scott was going to end up with knives, and now they can like tell the story as if he was always going to end up with Ramona. So as also, as people have pointed out, there was there's like these kind of weird elements of the original film that hopefully they kind of address, like particularly Scott trying to hit it, dating a 17-year-old as a 23-year-old. So yeah, that's a very exciting news. They said, I think Edgar Wright said it's coming imminently, so hopefully sometime this year. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. A little bit more serious news. The Writers Guild is taking its first steps towards a potential industry strike. The union has set a strike authorization vote with online polls opening April 11th and closing April 17th. The Guild announced to members on Monday. While a strike authorization vote does not ensure a writer's strike will occur, it does gauge members' willingness to cease work if the union deems a strike necessary. If a large portion of the members support a potential strike, that could improve writers' leverage in the ongoing talks with the studios and streamers. As such, the Guild was widely expected to call the vote at some point during a round of negotiations that many members consider pivotal for shoring up the future of the profession. A strike could only begin after the writers' contract with the studios and streamers expires on the 1st of May. The WGA has struck 6 times in its history and is generally considered the industry union that is most willing to walk in negotiations with employers. As such, rumors have been swelling in the industry for months that due to major changes that writers are seeking to implement this year, they will strike this spring. So, in the writers' last strike occurred 2007 to 2008 amid a heated battle with studios over new media, which then meant distribution over the internet, iPods, and cell phones. Lasting 100 days, the work stoppage cost the California economy an estimated $2.1 billion and took a toll on the writers' compensation, overall deals, and industry relationships. At the same time, many writers believed it was a crucial battle that gave WGA members an early foothold in new media platforms, which later contractually came to include streaming on video demand. Whether this year's negotiations will produce such an impasse remains unclear. This time around, the Guild is fighting first and foremost to significantly boost writers' compensation in a streaming-dominated era through higher wage floors, regulation of so-called mini rooms, and standardizing compensation for screenwriting through theatrical and streaming distribution platforms, among other points. Dylan, do you think we're going to get a writer's strike sometime this year?
I mean, it sounds like it.
I mean, there's been rumblings for several months, so
I feel like it makes sense, to be honest, when you think about the like what sparked the last one and the way that the world's changed now with streaming services and that sort of stuff, and the way media is produced differently. Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's say yes to get it down shortly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me, especially with unless the studios just give in and like accept. Do you remember the 2008 writer strike? Yeah,
I remember reading about it all the time, like picking up magazines and like they were covering it and reading about it a little bit online. Not as much as we'd have now, but yeah, I definitely remember like reading about it and reading how much it was going to affect the industry and how you'd read about movies being shut down or like take these massive pauses, and even nowadays you read stories about stuff I didn't even know that what movies and how those movies got affected. Because
like I think one that was very significantly affected was like Quantum of Solace, where like that was one that like they were trying to get out, and to the point where the director and Daniel Craig were the only ones who could like touch the script or change things.
Yeah, they were changing things because no one else could legally do anything. And then you got that movie, which was shit.
Yeah. And then like a bunch of shows like obviously got significantly affected.
Shut down.
Yeah. I think there was that season of Friday Night Lights that was like really weird, and they just never addressed it. They're like, let's just jump forward and let's forget all the stuff we were doing. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't think it will affect like the entertainment industry necessarily in the same way, because I feel like a lot of stuff is banked up and that kind of stuff, and obviously it was more affecting network television at the time that like needed writers to be writing stuff for stuff that needed to go to air so quickly. So yeah, and it feels like obviously the last couple of years have seen some massive changes. I feel like the sudden drop on from like not releasing in theaters, like obviously the Warner Brothers bit like everything's coming to HBO Max day one. That might have been kind of less for a lot of wanting changes to their compensation, that kind of stuff, and royalties not being the same as it once was, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a very serious part of the industry that will be interesting to see how that plays out in the coming weeks. Last couple of interesting stories. Street Fighter apparently might be coming back to film and TV after Legendary acquired the rights to the classic beat 'em up game. The studio will work with the video company Capcom on future projects. Street Fighter is one of the most enduring fighting video game franchises of all time. It began life with the 1987 arcade game Street Fighter and hit a high watermark with Street Fighter 2, the 1991 game that spawned countless special editions and remakes. In all, the franchise has made 49 million units worldwide, with a new installment, Street Fighter 6, due out June 2nd, is known for characters such as Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Guile, and M. Bison, each of whom have various moves that make them memorable. Hollywood has made moves on Street Fighter in the past, with Universal releasing an ill-fated 1994 film that starred Jean-Claude Van Damme as Cole Guile, and featured a cast star including Kylie Minogue, Ming-Na Wen, and the late Raul Julia. More than a decade later, 20th Century Fox released Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, which starred Kristen Crook in the title role. Like its predecessor, it was a commercial and critical bomb. A assortment of animated adaptations have also made their way to the screen. Dylan, could a Street Fighter film or TV series work in 2023?
I mean, they're trying to do Mortal Kombat movie, and they are doing a sequel, I believe, right? That was confirmed. So the first one was successful enough. So yes, I would say if they were going to try and do anything, you would try and do a TV show, not a movie, because I feel like then if you're trying to compete with the Mortal Kombat, you're going to bring both down at the same time, sort of thing. Whereas if you want to do a TV show, at least just sort of sitting in your own medium, and you don't really have similarities there. Whereas I can see for people who don't play the games or whatever, you can see the scenario happening where my mum's like, well, we've already watched that one, right? I'm like, no, that was Mortal Kombat. This is Street Fighter. Like it's that sort of scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. As someone who knows very little about the plot of Street Fighter, I don't know. Yeah, I think a TV series would make more sense, but if they want to go the film route, I mean, have a coherent plot, I guess. Focus on whatever characters. I don't know. Yeah. It's an interesting one because obviously on the success of, from the success of The Last of Us and the Sonic games and Sonic movies and that kind of stuff.
Greenlighting everything.
Video games, the curse is broken. Let's make them all. So, yeah, it's interesting. Final news story for this week is a feel-good story. Make that marmalade sandwich. Long-awaited movie threequel Paddington in Peru is on course to start production on July 24th, we can reveal. It's been 6 years since the second film in the hit franchise, and the Brown Bear is keeping plot details for the third installment under his famous red hat for now. But as the title suggests, the movie will see Paddington getting into sticky situations in deepest, darkest Peru, his country of birth. Yeah. Dylan, are you excited for Paddington in Peru?
Of course. The only thing I have is who's directing it.
It is not Paul King.
Yeah. So that's my one worry.
It is music video and commercials director Dougal Wilson is making his feature debut.
Yeah. Well, I have nothing against that person, but I don't know that person. So where I, and the first two movies, a lot of the stylistic choices and the reason that those movies are sort of as magical as they are, that all comes from Paul King. So,
I mean, he's producing, and I believe he'll be involved in the story. But yeah. I mean,
so that's my only thing. That's my only worry I'd have going in.
Also, they better have Florence Pugh in this movie.
Yeah,
that's
now's the time.
Request.
At least a cameo.
At least, just own some marmalade.
She plays herself and meets Paddington.
Yes, that would be the dream scenario.
Yeah, she's not playing character yet.
All right. Let's give some time to some trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers we're about to talk about in today's episode in the show notes below. First off, we got Elemental, directed by Peter Son, starring Leah Lewis, Mamadou Ati, Ronnie DeCarmen, Charlotte Omi, Wendy McClendon-Covey, Catherine O'Hara, Mason Wertimer, Joe Pera, and Matt Yang King. In a city where fire, water, land, and air residents live together, a fiery young woman and a go-with-the-flow guy discover something elemental. How much they actually have in common. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for the latest Pixar film, Elemental, and why do you hate it so much?
I'll go double thumbs up on this one. I quite enjoyed this. I enjoyed this. I thought the world looked cool and everything. I feel like the movies I like is that they just have to be set in a city with non-human characters.
Non-humans, yeah.
Then I'm in, So yeah, I mean, obviously it's got this very Romeo Juliet forbidden love sort of scenario going about it, which is fine. But yeah, all the characters, I like all the designs and the different weird little interactions. The old mate having the what's he have at the moment? He tries to eat something hot, I can't remember. Whatever it is, he tries to eat it hot and then he just bursts out the entire bubble.
It just looks like molten lava
balls.
Molten lava,
but yeah. So that's a good bit. Yeah, no, I'll go double thumbs up. Look like fun time.
Yeah, this is double thumbs up for me. Obviously, this is our first extensive look at this new Pixar film. So yeah, it looks really good. Like you said, the world, just the little snippets we get to look at it, the little earth creatures picking apples off each other. That was weird. It's definitely some sexual innuendo. Even just the weird, them walking through fences. Why do we even have this? They're not stopping anybody. And all these water people throw water and air people wearing clothes when they don't just seem to be discarded at the slightest inconvenience. Very amusing. So yeah, I'm definitely keen to check this out. Double thumbs up from me. So this is releasing in cinemas on the 15th of June. Next trailer, Hypnotic, directed by Robert Rodriguez, starring Ben Affleck, Alice Braga, J.D. Pardo, Hala Finley, Deo Okene, Jeff Fahey, Jackie Earl Haley, and William Fichtner. When a detective learns that his missing daughter and a string of high-profile bank robberies might be connected, he goes on a mind-bending journey to find his daughter and stop the secret government agency behind the madness. Dylan, what are your thoughts on the trailer for Robert Rodriguez's latest film?
Yeah, I'll go double thumbs up on this one as well. I like Rodriguez's wild style, but I'm loving William Fichtner getting a full-on leading villain role in this when he's usually the co-star or the second in charge.
He's a sub-villain.
He's always a sub-villain. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, it looks obviously it just looks like a weird combination of a spy thriller Inception thing that's going on, that sequence obviously where Ben Affleck's racing down on the bike and the buildings are bending up and whatever else because he's been hypnotized at that point. It's a wild concept, but I can buy in. I'm down.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give double thumbs up as well. I think it's an interesting concept. It's like a weird, I don't know, Inception-esque. It's Inception, except they're awake. Where you're implanting ideas in people's heads and they follow through. And yeah, I mean, Ben Affleck, he's having a comeback year. You know, he's in a lot of stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it looks kind of very interesting. So big ideas. It's cool to see William Fisher in like a leading role, like you said. Although the opening, I'm like, oh, he kept his eyes off his daughter for a second. She disappeared. It's like, man, this is giving me Heavy Rain vibes. Where's a button to call out for your child? Yeah. All right. All right. So this is coming to cinemas in America on the 12th of May. There is currently no Australian release date. Next trailer, White House Plumbers, created by Alex Gregory and Peter Huck, starring Woody Harrelson, Justin Theroux, Domhnall Gleeson, Lena Headey, Kiernan Shipka, Ike Barinholtz, Yul Vazquez, David Krumholtz, Rich Summer, Kim Coates, Liam James, Kathleen Turner, and Judy Greer. Watergate masterminds and President Richard Nixon's political operatives E. Howard Hunt and G. Gordon Liddy, part of the White House plumbers charged with plugging press leaks by any means necessary, accidentally overturned the presidency when they were trying to protect. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer for White House Plumbers?
Yeah, I don't know too much about these particular people, I guess, which is I know the story of the Watergate, I guess, but I don't know too much about the head people behind it, which I guess this is the core focus of for this. Looks really great. It looks like a high quality HBO series, bunch of really great actors from Woody Harrelson to Justin Theroux and Lena Headey and everyone else that's involved. So fucking whatchamacallit Elf is in it. The fucking whatever his name is
from the Santa Claus.
Yeah, from the Santa Claus. David, whatever. Yeah. I'm keen. Yeah, double thumbs up. Looks really, really, really great. Keen for this one. Limited HBO series. Probably be nominated for some Emmys. There you
go. Yeah, I'll give this 2 thumbs up. I think it looks really fun, even though it's tackling like a really important American moment in history. It's weirdly like, oh, this is the sequel to The Post, right? This is the Watergate story that Spielberg never got around to making. Yeah, I think looks really good. Justin Theroux looks like he's playing a weird, wacky character. I'm sure Woody Harrelson will play an equally weird and wacky character. I mean, the whole thing with him putting his hand over a candle and it's like, what's the trick? No, there's no trick. He just gets third degree burns every single time. It's like freaking ridiculous. Yeah, it looks really good. The thing is, the only point is that song that they used towards the end of the trailer, I feel like has been used a lot recently.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'm really looking forward to it. This is coming to binge. We assume the 1st of May. It's releasing on HBO on the 1st of May, so expect binge around the same time, but there's no confirmed date. Next trailer, Asteroid City, directed by Wes Anderson, starring Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Jeffrey Wright, Tilda Swinton, Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Adrian Brody, Liev Schreiber, Hope Davis, Steve Park, Rupert Friend, Maya Hawke, Steve Carell, Matt Dillon, Hong Chow, William Dafoe, Margot Robbie, Tony Revolori, Jake Ryan, and Jeff Goldblum. World-changing events spectacularly disrupt the itinerary of a junior stargazer / space cadet convention in an American desert town circa 1955. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for Wes Anderson's latest film?
Double thumbs up. Looks great. Obviously, it's a Wes Anderson film. I still need to actually go back and watch it just never came to cinema, and I still haven't got around to watching. Fuck was that last one called?
Yeah,
that one.
The French
one. The French Dispatch.
That's it. Yes,
I still haven't got around watching that. It just sort of completely flipped by me. But yeah, obviously it looks like a Wes Anderson movie, which is the combination of weird, wacky characters, the framing, the cinematography, the dialogue. Like either like his movies or you don't. there was a weird, when this trailer dropped, a weird like sort of conversation framing happening around like, oh, another one of his movies. I'm like, yeah, his movies like come out every like 2 years, and he's the only person that does on his
Like this.
style. So how did fuck, like, if you don't like him, you don't like him, but don't act like there's a million
This
of
is
them.
the only choice of movies
Yeah,
that you can have.
it's just very weird reaction to have. So yeah, some new people in here that we haven't seen before in a Wes Anderson movie, as well as a combination of people we see in every one of his movies. Interesting concept. Space. Yeah, double thumbs up.
Yeah, this is double thumbs up from me. I think I love the aesthetic and like how it almost feels like a stage play at certain points, like with the I don't know, rock backgrounds or whatever. Yeah, just the idea of Wes Anderson doing like a kind of weirdly sci-fi movie about aliens is hilarious to me. And it's playing exactly the way you would hope it would play out. You know, Jason Schwartzman again seems to be very much the main lead,
the lead character. Yeah,
from what I can tell,
I guess.
Yeah, and the list of actors that you don't even see in the trailer, I think, is interesting. Whether they're just full-on cameos or they are being hidden for some reason. Hopefully, you know, it's a massive ensemble. So I mean, it's a little bit worrying, but especially when I'm hoping that the kid storyline is also a key point of that. You know, because obviously Wes Anderson does great young kid stories. You need to only look at what's the scouting one? Can't remember. So yeah, very excited. This is coming to cinemas on 22nd of June. Looking forward to that. All right, next trailer for this week, final trailer for this week, Blue Beetle, directed by Angel Manuel Soto, starring Zolo Maduena, Adriana Barraza, Damien Alcazar, Elapida Carrillo, Bruna Macozine, Raul Max Trujillo, Susan Sarandon, and George Lopez. Mexican-American teenager Jaime Reyes gains superpowers when a mysterious scarab binds to his spine and provides him with a powerful suit of blue alien armor. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for the latest DC film, Blue Beetle?
I thought it looked pretty fun. It's really weird. Like, in retrospect, it's still, even now after a trailer, I can't believe Blue Beetle's a real movie that's happening, to be completely honest. It's such a like just weird character to have being a live action movie. I really like, and I like Blue Beetle, the like when any of the cartoons, like I was reading a bunch of Blue Beetle there at one point when he at the start of New 52. I think there was a really good run. I think it was the start of New 52. That was quite enjoyable and everything else. So I understand. I wouldn't say like I'm a hardcore Blue Beetle fan, but I've read enough that at least I have some idea of like this. And even watching this show, I was like, this is such a weird concept thing. But anyway, cast looks great. I like the family dynamic. I think the suit looked fine, a little bit too CGI-ish, but I guess that's the whole point to a degree. So it's hard. I don't know. I feel like I just need to meet in the middle with that one. But yeah, I'll go one. I'll go one up, one down. I really like the cast. I really like the family dynamic and then being heavily involved. But everything else, like the just general superhero-ish stuff, just still looks like typical, just like very mediocre, you know, like typical origin story stuff. So yeah, I'll go one up, one down.
I'm gonna go 2 thumbs up. I think it looks good. You know, my thing is like him in the suit doesn't match the voice that he's delivering. Like he gets super pumped up inside while he's doing that weird Buster Sword movement thing at the end of the trailer.
Yeah.
And I don't love the POV inside the suit. I don't, you know, I think the design wise it doesn't look fantastic, but I guess you have to find a way to differentiate yourself from Iron Man, which is what it's clearly going to be compared
to do.
It's Iron Man, except he, you know, can produce weapons and force fields and shit, you know. yeah, otherwise I think it looks really fun, and the family unit looks really good. I think them all freaking out during the transformation scene is pretty hardcore. And yeah, I think it'll be a pretty fun time. Surprise! Of course, this is the film that was meant to be released as a streaming project on HBO Max. Is now getting a full release,
which is weird. Usually goes opposite way.
Batgirl, but so
they must mean they believe in it, like a weirdly high amount.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely keen to check this out. So Blue Beetle is coming to cinemas on the 17th of August. All right, let's move into this week's top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
And because Star Wars Celebration is about to happen in London this coming weekend, this week's top 3 is top 3 hosts for Star Wars Celebration. All right, Dylan, what's your number 3?
Number 3, as I recheck my list, I went with the Acolyte trailer for number 3. So, I mean, I feel like this is a given, but the Acolyte is this series that's set during the High Republic time period. We're going to have some Sith action and stuff like that. It's the first live action thing that we've got for that time period. I mean, it's the first thing we've got for that time period, aside from the anime series that's coming out on May 4th, I guess, outside of comic books and novels and stuff. And that's a very young kids series anyway, so that's a bit weirder. But yeah, Acolyte looks really, really great. Everything about it's just made it sound like such a new, interesting direction, exploring a completely different era of Star Wars that we're so used to looking at now, which is either set around episode 4 or before episode 4, or where the Mandalorian set, which is, before episode 7, between episode 6 and stuff. So yeah, very, very keen. I'm keen for this trailer, hopefully.
All right. My number 3 is clear film plans. Let us know what you're actually doing on the film front. It seems like ever since we keep hearing all these directors making a Star Wars film. Are they? What is a clear timeline on these sort of things? Even if it's like, hey, we haven't got any concrete plans going forward, we'll let you know at next year's Star Wars Celebration. Just shut down a lot of these rumors that are spreading around. What's Taika doing? Is he making that Star Wars movie? What's this movie that Damon Lindelof just jumped off? Is that a thing? What's happening with Rogue Squadron? Let us know. So yeah, that would be my number 3 hope. Dylan, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is news, teaser trailer, anything that's to do with Andor Season 2. So just anything. Just tell me when that's happening. Tell me when I can watch it. Give me a little bit of something. Don't give me something. Show a little bit of something to the audience. Give them some hints. I don't know. Anything that lets me know roughly when I can watch this as our favorite show of last year.
My number 2, more projects like Star Wars Visions. Obviously, we love Star Wars Visions Season 1. We're very keen for Season 2. Give us other weird, interesting projects from the Star Wars universe. Whether it's like weird short films, live-action short films exploring different aspects, other weird, crazy animated projects. Give us the Last Ronin novel adaptation. Just go wild. Give us some crazy left field stuff. That's my number 2 hope. Dylan, what's your number 1 hope for Star Wars Celebration?
Number 1 hope is just one movie. one movie goes to cinemas. It's a thing. It's not going to get cancelled. It's not set. It's not set during episode 4, and it's a new characters, time period that I'm not sick of. It's going to get released in 2025. It's a real movie. I can watch it in a cinema chair at a cinema. Star Wars movies. What a concept. Bring it back.
Yeah. My number 1, Skeleton Crew trailer. Yeah. I think we've kind of covered the gamut of what potentially could be announced. Obviously, apparently it's been shot last year, so, the footage is there. Yeah, kind of give us an idea of what the show is and when we're going to get it. So that would be my number 1 hope for Star Wars Celebration. So what are the plans to cover Star Wars Celebration this weekend, Dill? Are we going to talk about it on Holocron Entries?
Correct.
Is that the plan?
That's it.
So subscribe to Holocron Entries and listen to our Bad Batch episodes while you're there. Or even our Mandalorian episodes while you're over on the podcast feed, waiting for it to update with our coverage of Star Wars Celebration. Dylan, this week, what do you want to watch?
This week I want to watch the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Who doesn't? Point me at someone who does this. Tell me this isn't your pick right now.
This is my pick, so I mean, it's all the buzz so far has been like pretty positive, especially from people who are invested in the video game side. There's been a little bit more mix on the actual film critic side. So,
what do they know?
What did they know?
My second pick, though, if I'm going Super Mario Bros. For my movie pick, and I'm going to continue with this thing, this is just how it works now. My TV show pick would be Beef, the Netflix series about people wanting to fight each other.
Yes.
The car rage.
Yeah, that would be my two picks as well. But, shout out to Pope's Exorcist. For some reason, that film is something got into my mind.
Absolutely trash.
Just, brought up for some reason. Pope's Exorcist. Might be Russell Crowe talking about it. WrestleMania. Smart sponsoring. Smart product placement, really.
Even you're such a sucker for WWE that they've tricked you into being like excited for a horror movie. Fucking hell.
No, I'm not going to watch it. All right. Let us know what you're excited to watch this week. What your top 3 things you want to see at Star Wars Celebration are. And anything about any of the news stories we talked about this week by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump into our Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars. Anywhere can leave 5 stars or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, Thor's worth $1, head on over to our Cove page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.